Hello, good evening, and welcome to edition 121 of the CantinaMX Podcast. 121 episodes that you can listen to, download on iTunes, and of course you can listen to us live every week here on YouTube every Thursday night, roughly around 9:30. It's a soft 9:30. Can we just say it's a soft 9:30? But we are on live. We appreciate you listening to us, and thanks for participating on the chat. I need to get better at the chat. I'll work on the chat tonight. That'll be one of my goals. But we have a full plate, as we always do, because we are always served up just plenty of information for us to sit around the washing machines like lavanderas and talk about this stuff. But we'll talk about it yet again this week, and we have lots to talk about. And we do have another distinguished panel with us, and we'll have folks join us a little later. But my name is John Jagu, and let's introduce the rest of the panel. Thank you very much for joining us. With us all the way in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, man who had more of an extended senior break than the rest of us, but is back with us. Of course, I'm talking about Ronnie De Luna. Ronnie, how are you, sir? How's Philadelphia?
Hey, how are you doing, John? How are you doing, Beto? I'm doing good. Thank you for asking.
Glad to have you back on, Ronnie. Ronnie, we have a couple of extra cancha topics that I know that you were. I think that chomping at the bit is not even a strong enough metaphor to describe how ready you are to tackle a couple of the topics we're going to have tonight.
These are my favorite topics, believe it or not.
I believe you 100%. I think that this is an area where you are very well versed. So we're glad to have you on. I think that folks can learn a lot tonight. So thanks for having you on. Of course, over in Kyle, a man who joined me yesterday in San Antonio to cover the Mexico-Bosnia match, took some great pictures. Imagine Chiquis taking the 700 or so pictures that you took with film, and we'd have to wait 4 days to get pictures. And no offense, that one out of every whatever is not as good as the others. We'll just say, but we're glad to have you on, Chiquis. You took some excellent pictures last night down field with a camera, a different camera you were using. You can tell us about that. But you got a really good one. You got a really good one of Gio and of Elias Hernandez. A couple of. I'm not gonna lie, Chiquis. You were concentrating a lot on Jonah Dos Santos. There are more Jonah Dos Santos pictures.
He was on that side, and I guess open a lot. I think I got a lot of Aquino as well, and
right.
Tried to get one thing that I looked at was the goal from Ayala.
That was you got a great shot of the goal. Congratulations. That was outstanding.
The only thing is, this dude next to me had a huge lens, man.
Right.
And he wasn't even pointing at the goal, and he got in my way of the shot. It would have been a better shot, but his lens.
But the edit, you can still blow it up. You still have a really nice shot of it. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, it was fun. Fun time.
Well, we're glad to have you on, Chiquis.
Yep,
well, let's go into. I know we want to talk about the big expose that came out Sunday on Televisa Deportes about Pachuca, but we're going to talk about the game first that we had last night, since Beto and I were down there in San Antonio in the Alamo Dome. That Beto was it might as well have been a UTSA football game. There just weren't that many folks there. It was the Alamo Dome seats 65,000, and it was maybe a third of that was there in the stadium to watch Mexico play Bosnia. So
yeah, sort of bleak.
But I will say, for as small a crowd as it was, they were quite loud when they needed to be.
Yeah, I actually heard. I was impressed how when Jonathan was warming up, they were yelling his name. They were yelling Pizarro's name, and made Jonathan laugh a little bit as well.
Oh yeah,
when he got the ball. They were cheering. They were cheering for him. You could tell they were backing him. I don't know if just the Mexican American aspect or just because he left the U.S.
Now, the most interesting part of the night for me, Chiquis, was not anything that actually happened on the field that happened before the game. It was when and I didn't check this, and I need to, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same kid. But that came out and sang the anthem, I believe, was the same kid that sang the anthem at the NBA Finals a few years ago. He was obviously a little older, 3 or 4 years older, so he was in his voices changing phase of his life. But he sang the national, and when he first came out, the fans were not happy with him. They were not, when you get whistled, that's not a good thing. But by the end of it, he had won him over.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
He knocked it out of the park. Yeah, no, he knocked it out of the park, and the crowd gave him a really good ovation at the end of it, because it was he did a really good job. Because I don't know if y'all remember this, but at the NBA Finals, there was a kid who was dressed as a charro, right? He goes out and sings the anthem and just blows it out of the water. And people were upset that he was wearing a charro outfit to sing the anthem. It's like,
Yeah,
he's wearing a charro outfit. Who cares? So he wore the same outfit to sing the anthem at the game yesterday, and the crowd, like I said, I think they were definitely won over with that. So I thought that was incredibly interesting that we had that moment. And then, like you said, Jonathan played, but I didn't really. I mean, I was probably focusing on other things, but I mean, he did okay. I mean, he's only 18. He's not going to the World Cup. I mean, there's no. I mean, he had a chance to really take a huge leap and get on the list of possibilities when Carlos Vela served him up with just a peach, right, on the pass of death.
Yeah.
And he whiffed. Swing and a miss, Ron. Ron, did you ever play forward, Ron? Did you ever swing and a miss on an oyster that's just right there for you to just slot it into the goal?
I don't know who hasn't.
I mean, it was like, yeah, exactly. I know I did it
and then
many times myself.
And
then it goes to Aquino. Go ahead.
Yeah, he whiffs it also.
He whiffs. It was a double whiff. Yeah, Aquino. It was rough to see him still thinking that he has to just blast him through the net when he has those opportunities. He just it's going to happen. He's going to finally get it going, and it's going to happen like against Germany or Brazil or something. So anyway, Mexico did win the game 1-0. They got a goal on a corner kick, another set piece goal in the Osorio era. I would love to do the numbers. Maybe this is a project we can do this week, is to see what percentage of set piece goals Osorio's teams have scored compared to other. Because it seems to me like that there's a whole lot more set piece goals scored in the Osorio era. I could be wrong. I don't know. Well, it's definitely numbers that I would like to look at, and and they won 1-0 and kind of played the way you would expect. The Croatian gentleman, Mr. Thomas, is it Prosniecki? I always get his name confused with somebody else. It was the first time he had his kids, and he talked about that at the press conference. He's like, man, I've had these guys for a week. I mean, the fact that we could compete against these teams, he said to him was like a minor miracle. He was really happy. There was a U21 team that they sent. So, and there were some players, Chiquis. I thought that the number 17, he was one of the wingers or forwards. I think he has a future. He made Anis, as big as he is. He had a couple of the Mexican defenders pretzeled. So they were, it was certainly at least a better challenge than what could have been expected. And you were down on the field, Chiqui. So how did you see things shaping up? Or did you even get a chance to? Or are you too busy taking pictures?
I was at a disadvantage looking through the lens, but I still was able to see sort of a little bit of what they did. And I think what you mentioned, the set piece issue, I think is a problem for Osorio. I don't think it's his design to go in and win games by set piece. I think that's like more of a Bruce Arena type of strategy. But they just couldn't break I would consider this sort of a bunker. And Pizarro impressed, Aquino impressed. There's some guys that were doing really good, but it was just do some fancy moves, get to the end line, cut back.
Hey, Beto, I got a question for you. When you're down there on the pitch taking pictures, are you kind of like me where you're taking pictures, but then you're always looking up on the big screen to see the plays?
No, I don't look at the big screen. The only reason I look to the big screen is for a repeat, but it's all live. So I want to replay sometimes. That's the only reason I looked.
But the replays, they didn't play that many replays on the big screen last night. I didn't notice any replays. I didn't have the action on the replays last night.
Yeah, so it was useless to me. I assumed that they didn't use any replays, so I was just like, okay.
They showed a few. What they had, Ron, actually was just a continuous feed of. There's this software that you can load up, and it plays just a continuous slideshow of people that tweet or do whatever, put anything on. Man, if it was just Twitter or Facebook both, where if they hashtag in this case Mex Tour, then the picture would show up on the big screen. So that was running on a continuous loop the entire night, and then the other one just had a slide of the matchup, and then occasionally they would. I think they did not show live action. Maybe somebody who was at the stadium, maybe again, because I'm focusing on other things, maybe they can fill us in if they were showing any live action on the jumbos or not, especially if you're kind of at a disadvantage of your viewing position. I was not at a disadvantage in my viewing position. I will say that the Alamo Dome's press box is outstanding as far as the location of where you are in relation to the field. You are about maybe 20 feet up and maybe 30 or 40 yards. So it's a really nice line of sight to the field. So very, very happy. Very, very happy. That rickety noise can only mean one thing. And that thing, of course, is that. That Joel Aceves joins us from Los Angeles. Joel, good evening, sir.
Buenos días a todos, menos a Ron.
¿Y por qué no Ron?
He knows.
No me digas, Joel, que Ron se está portando mal.
He has been.
Nunca me atrevería. Hey, is Ron pulling a Fredo in Vegas?
He was banging cocktail waitresses 2 at a time. Players couldn't get a drink at the table. What's wrong with you?
Well, good to have you on, Joel. Joel, we were discussing the friendly. I know we want to get into some other topics first, but we wanted to get a fuller panel before we get into the Plato Fuerte tonight. No, you haven't missed anything.
I missed the game. So I mean, I kept up with it through Twitter. I was actually following you guys posting about it.
Did you feel Joel, that you were
I'm promoting our Twitter, man, and you're
were you informed and entertained, or were you just informed?
No, actually I was. It was both.
All right.
Yeah. No, I wasn't even looking forward to this game though. I think we all knew what to expect. Osorio likes to experiment. He likes to switch people around.
He was switching them around from like literally from offensive series to offensive series in the first half.
Yeah, so I mean, I was like,
I saw Carlos Vela play in 4 different spots on the field in the first 45 minutes. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I know there's people that are still like, because they want to see who's gonna get the last spots for the World Cup roster. So they think, but I feel like a lot of that stuff's already decided.
Yes, I agree with you. I feel that there's about out of the 23 spots, I think that there's maybe at the most 4 spots that are not filled.
Yeah, I was gonna say the exact same number, man. Cuatro Fantásticos, and then but of course you always get injuries or you know.
Yeah.
So, but
come on, dude.
No, but I mean, other than that, yeah, it was. I know people were dissatisfied.
Well, the injury already happened, and that was poor Victor Guzman, who the week before has he tears his ACL in the game before the friendly. He's out for 7. But he has no chance of making the World Cup, and to have for a team that has historically, despite having good strikers, just missed out on scoring opportunities. To have a guy who's a pretty good goal scorer, with shooting and with the head, not available like that. He hasn't been part of this proceso at all. But you can't. If he would have had another 10, 11 goal season, you have to take.
Yeah, and then Pulido
that's not going to happen. Yeah, exactly.
Bad luck, Pulido, who gets injured in training.
Do you think he really got injured?
Yeah, you know what? Good thing you bring that up. Chivas might be out of between 5 or 7 players for the game against Puebla,
Puebla.
which is tomorrow. Yeah, and it's tomorrow. So, and they're not too bad, but at the same time they're not doing too good. So
Pulido will play. He'll score.
We'll get into the Chivas. We'll go to the Chivas Crisis. Is that what it's called, Ron? The Chivas Crisis Center.
Yes, the Chivas Crisis Center.
The Chivas Crisis. We'll go to that in
go up in the hotlines.
Yeah, but going back to the game, I think Faitelson, I think he was right in his assessment when he said la única certeza que tiene la selección mexicana es que cada día queda menos tiempo para enfrentar a Alemania. And I think the consensus, the responses were right, saying certero fue el vergazo que te sentó el Divo de Tepito.
A few weeks ago on my Football Picante, they asked what was Cuauhtémoc's greatest moment. The last one was giving Faitelson the Veracruz.
Yeah. So what you're saying, Ron, is you advocate for you're okay with bullying. You're okay with internet bullying. Is that so? That's what you're saying.
You're saying, Ron.
That's what I'm saying.
At least he admits it. Oh man.
He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
I think obviously the players for Bosnia, they were just scrounged up at the last moment.
Well, I mean, like the coach said, it was a U21 team. And they're all from the local league. Now they did have some sparkles. I mean, they've got certainly some prospects, but I mean, this was, I at least if you're going to play a game like that against big guys that kind of know what they're doing, instead of picking a team like that maybe doesn't have as much of the development, where you get like a really raw team where you have those problems that Hohen had mentioned earlier. So that was the other great thing about last night is that did not happen. I'm not even gonna say. Yeah. So there were no they were able, all 23 were able to get back on that bus sanos y salvos for Mexico, which was a good thing. Now hear me out. I know that I can sometimes be a bit of a I want to consider myself an optimist. I did notice more so in this game than I think ever before, and I don't know if it was just a thing that they wanted to do today about the players rotating on the field, and I'm starting to think that what he might do come Russia time is to do is to keep his top 4 guys or whatever it is attacking from there and just constantly rotate those guys, make them play midfield, make them play in the wing. I just feel like that's where he's going with this. I think we're going to start seeing more and more and more of that as we get closer to Russia. I don't know if.
What was that again?
Well, it just seems like the. Man, I gotta put a color on my little cricket thing, because every time that happens, it's always just good to drop some of that. But what I was saying was that I noticed his players on the field rotating in and out of positions more than I ever have before in any Osorio match that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So it just makes me wonder if that's why we've seen players play at midfield for the whole game or for extended periods of times in games. Is he going to do some sort of like on the field like volleyball rotation almost of his 2 wingers and his 2 midfielders? And even the wingbacks occasionally get thrown in that mix too.
Well, we've seen Gio. Like the main one I saw was Gio, and we've seen him in the past go from right to left.
Yeah, but they were going from left mid to right wing. They played all 4 of those positions, and the only one that stayed firm was Martin, the striker. Everyone else was bouncing around.
That guy was pretty much useless, man.
He had some I thought he did all right. He had one that he sent to Laredo practically because he poor guy, and so he could have done better, but I don't think he did. I don't think that he at least he didn't miss like a terrible sitter or something.
Yeah, I don't blame him too much. I just blame the whole system that wasn't set up for him to do well in the first place.
Now, what I will say about him is that he made a terrific pass in like the first 5 minutes. Vela set him up beautifully, and then he did one of those passive deaths to the back, but there was nobody. I mean, nobody was filling the space. So it just like a ship passing the night, just went by. No one was able to cash in. It's actually one of the things that Juan Carlos Osorio talked about. This to me is like one of the funniest things I've heard from a coach from Mexico, because I think that every coach from Mexico say it, but he's not going to say it the way that Juan Carlos Osorio is. And here he is last night talking about Mexico in the attacking third.
Una sugerencia o un área para mejorar es la finalización. Cuando penetramos al equipo rival en el último tercio y la pelota viene atrás en el famoso pase muerte o pase vida, los delanteros nuestros se precipitaron hoy. De pronto tanto Javier como Henry tenían para controlar y rematar, quisieron rematar de primera intención y ahí perdimos dos grandes posibilidades. Yo creo que la finalización, no solamente en México, sino casi todo el mundo, es un área a mejorar y por eso los delanteros valen lo que valen.
So that is a minute and a half of Captain Obvious there.
Mm-hmm.
In the press cut. So Juan Carlos Osorio, like every other coach, is they have a certain length of soundbite that they like to master, and he has mastered the 40-45 second soundbite where he's saying, we need to put it in the net, we didn't do it, we need to put it in the net. But in 45 seconds, he's able to beautifully describe how, the thing that everyone. The worst kept secret in Mexican soccer is that they can't finish. And he's like, for 45 seconds, we're talking about how this is unable to happen. So no big surprise. The three and Angelinos played. Vela played actually the full 90. Giovanni played a half. Yona played a half. And it was interesting to me, and I don't know if you saw this, Chiquis, but at the end of the game, both Yona and Giovanni actually did a little running on the pitch after the game was over. So they're like they got their laps in after the game, which I've never really seen in a friendly, especially guys like that. So you got to see Giovanni and Yona both up close and personal. Did you feel that they were both in good shape? Giovanni said he's in the best shape of his life.
Yeah, I thought they both. Well, I thought Jonathan looked really good as normal. He was hustling and running all over the place. Giovanni, he didn't look, bad, out of shape or heavy or anything. I just didn't think he did, too much other than receive a few balls and then cut back and make a pass, and that's pretty much it.
Well, Osorio would have something he would not agree with you.
Sobre Giovanni, estoy totalmente en desacuerdo con usted. A mí me parece que Giovanni sigue mostrando que es un jugador que de afuera hacia adentro es capaz de sostener la pelota, que temporiza, permite la pasada o del interior o del lateral. Y hablando con él, esas son las dos posiciones donde él se siente cómodo, extremo con perfil natural o detrás del punta.
So, there you go.
That was a perfect soundbite, man.
Shows you what you know there.
That's necedad, man. That's like stubborn.
I might have to add this to the repertoire here. Let's see.
Sobre Giovanni, estoy totalmente en desacuerdo con usted.
Estoy totalmente desacuerdo con usted. There might have to be a new drop.
I wonder what the question was on that.
Oh, the question was actually I did not have the question. I had the question in the beginning. Hang on.
Sobre Giovanni, estoy totalmente.
Oh shit! I had it on when I was editing. The question was, and I didn't think the guy tells the coach, well, I didn't think Giovanni played a very good game. And that was the question. It's like the first part was about Jonathan. It says, and about Giovanni, I don't think it looks like he's not comfortable at all. He looks like he had shitty game. And that, well,
This
of course, I'm paraphrasing.
This is sort of ridiculous, man. And it started from before the game, that press conference that he gave with Giovanni and Uayala.
Which you also attended.
Yeah, and he said, and why would you brag about this? Giovanni said, I've had the best off season in my whole career. Like, what is the best off season? What does that even mean?
Well, it probably means that he actually, trained.
I know, but and then are you going to call someone up to the national team because they had an awesome off season, or are you going to call them up because they went to Europe and they're playing regularly on their team and they're scoring some good goals or getting some assists? And then he gives them the captain's armband for the game, and then after the game, like you just posted or like you just had the audio.
Maybe he just trained really hard listening to like Rocky 3 soundtrack.
Man, I need to get that song on there.
Yeah.
It's sort of ridiculous, man. It's weird. It's crazy. And then the whole Alanis deal. Man, this is like bizarro.
Dude, I'm a sucker for Survivor, man. They're a great band, by the way. Sorry, I digress.
This is some weirdness. I don't know. Dan and Rigo are on, so maybe they can disagree or whatever.
No, I agree with you. How's everybody doing?
So, dude.
Is that Raton Ayala joining us from New York?
That is I.
How are you, sir? Are you? Now, before we get into that, I think I'm going to go ahead and answer your question. Did you feel that Chivas' performance was Elvis level?
Did we say Elvis was? Did we say Elvis was in the middle?
No, I thought we said Elvis was,
at the bottom.
Nat King Cole was.
I think we're still Elvis.
Still Elvis. Okay.
Yeah. We're still
so, and then we also have thanks for joining us, Raton. Good to have you. Good to have you on. We also have with us joining us from Escondido in California, Daniel Preciado. Daniel.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Sir?
I'm good, man. I don't know. I'm bringing the sunshine as always. I was happy with the performance last night. I wasn't horrified by Gio's performance in the slightest. He looked all right. Didn't look terrible.
Yeah, you have a real positive outlook. I'm like, I need that.
Well, I will say this about the game.
They didn't get close to scoring. They didn't get close to scoring. Mexico controlled the vast majority of the game. Both halves showed some pretty good function. At least that's what I saw. I saw plenty of chances.
Where Mexico did really well at the beginning was their pressure. I mean, they had two really good chances on goal in the first minute and a half of the game. It was both Vela and Gio that actually had some cracks. And when they pressured Bosnia defensively, as Bosnia was taking the ball out, they got it back more often than not, and they got it back with numbers. They just, again, they're always missing that, that last touch. It just kills them.
And on some level, it's kind of expected. I mean, you don't really have the striker. Like, you're nice. Pulido was supposed to be in there, I think, and he obviously couldn't play. But Henry Martin, I don't know. I don't think he's. I think that one half will be enough for him not to make it to Russia.
He had his chance.
Catastrophic injuries.
Did not.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it's also a part of who's playing. Like, it's not like he was getting like a bunch of like great passes into the box. He did have one that I remember like, he should have had, but it's not like he was getting like a ton of like ball. There's one point in the game where
I thought he had two clear chances where he at least should have put it on target.
Was it in the second half or the first half?
I believe it was.
He had one in the first half, and one in each half.
In the second, yeah. And granted, that's not a ton, but sometimes that's all you're going to get.
No. I know. I mean, and I'm not. I don't think he's going to Russia, but I don't like. It's hard to evaluate this game because one, these guys were together for like 3 days, You have a bunch of guys playing in different positions, and then Osorio was trying this like total 90 thing where like guys were just like rotating in positions. So it's just hard to judge on like guys' performances on a guy like a Henry Martin who, you know, he was there to score basically.
I think you can make some decent judgment. I mean, granted, it's a really tiny sample, but I mean, you could take. There's some takeaways from there. Like, I think we can agree that Chaka shouldn't be back.
I will say this for Chaka: he had a terrible start, but he more than made up for it later in the game.
Who? I'm sorry, you cut off.
Chaka.
Oh yeah, like I felt like in the second half he played a little bit better than he did in the first half, but he had a lot of mistakes in the first half.
Yeah, he was nervous. There's
with Elias now. With Elias,
yeah, Elias did not have a good game. Elias is a long shot.
Already...
He is a long shot. Honestly,
I'm surprised he got as many as much time as he did. But I mean, to talk about Rigo's boys, actually was impressed with Pizarro. I think he kept the ball too long a couple times, but he was dangerous for sure.
Yeah, Chiqui's got an excellent shot of Pizarro in that little sequence where he danced through and then, like you said, took one touch too much and blasted it into the Bosnian's thigh. But yeah, you're right. I would have liked to have seen Pizarro start in place of Elias, just because I think that he has a much better chance of making the World Cup than Elias does. I think that he brings more to the table. Now, let me ask you this, Raton: if in any of those plays, if Chofis was there, would he have scored?
I don't know. I don't know if he would have scored. I think he would have had.
What kind of trophy chaser are you? Of course, he would have scored. Of course,
no,
he would have
but
scored.
I'm being realistic in like the game itself, being that these guys don't play together all the time. I think he would have definitely created a lot of opportunities out on the wing. I mean. The first half seemed a little bit like it was more like the only guy who was really doing anything was like Carlos Vela, and it wasn't so much that he was doing a lot; it was just he was hustling a lot more than the rest of the guys.
Right.
And I think like somebody like Chofis could have definitely helped him like out on the wing or playing alongside him, or even like Pizarro could have helped him in the midfield. Because it just seemed like both like when they were both on the pitch, seemed like they were both moving without the ball and hustling. But
I guess we watched two different games, man. I was really impressed with Vela. I thought he was definitely.
I mean, I
think they're both. I think both of y'all are saying that you guys were
in the
impressed.
midfield. He was getting the ball to the forwards. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I thought he was really. I mean, he played clever. I thought he was pretty sharp considering he hasn't played in. Well, no, he's actually. No, he hasn't really played. But
I will say this about Vela: he, the Bosnians were sure as hell scared of him because I think they fouled him like 10 times in the game.
Yep.
No, yeah,
That's true. That's a good point.
I didn't think he played bad. Like I said, I think he hustled a lot. That was like the biggest thing with him is he was hustling. He was like dropping back to recover the ball. Yeah, he was pretty much doing everything because the rest of the guys weren't doing anything.
Se le cayó la gana de jugar.
Molina again, like I didn't see anything terrible from him. I thought he was solid.
Oh, I thought Molina was great, and I thought in like the second half, once Molina's there and Jonathan comes in, Aquino and Gallardo, that like the whole game was played on the left side, and that's where Vela disappeared. When those guys came in and they started controlling the game through the left side, Vela was on the right, and he kind of just like you stopped seeing him.
Right.
But it wasn't so much that he wasn't doing anything; it was just the game was flowing more on that left side.
Away from him, yeah.
No, but I mean, what? Go ahead.
He still would get it on the right every now and then, but not as often.
Yeah. No, I don't think he played bad for a guy that hasn't played in a while.
Yeah, that's just the way he is. Like on the fouling thing, he protects the ball so well and uses his legs in such a way to protect it that there's no way. I mean, you think you can get the ball and then you end up fouling him. So it's not really like, him hustling. It's just the way he is, just the control he has with the ball that he gets fouled so much.
That's
I thought like.
I've never thought of Vela as sorry, Raton, I'll let you hop in here in a second. As Vela as a ball header like that, but you're absolutely right. I mean, he shielded it so much that they had no choice, and they were getting frustrated with him for doing it. So they were like, "Oh yeah, here you go." Here's a need of the thigh. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say in that aspect, Pizarro is kind of similar, where they both are they're very good at shielding the ball and protecting it, and they get fouled a lot. The same thing with Pulido. Like he plays kind of similar, where he like a lot of what he does is recovery and protecting the ball and then looking for the pass.
That's where Henry did not provide support. I don't think as much as, but he really didn't need to because Mexico was able to possess and keep possession on a pretty regular basis. Except, and that was the only time the Bosnians had any kind of dangerous play, was when Mexico was loose with the pass here and there. Chaka had a couple of them. I think your boy Alanis had.
He had a few.
He had a few, and against the U21 against Bosnia, you can recover. You cannot recover doing that against any of those teams in the World Cup. I mean, Korea could punish you. The Swedes sure can. Germany, obviously. You just can't do it. Now, before we jump into the Televisa Pachuca topic that we're going to discuss, I was talking with one of the journos before the game. I don't know if you guys know him or follow him, Arch Bell, who's a great guy, lives in Cedar Park, which is outside Austin here. Writes for Marca and does some other stuff. I think he also does some ESPN FC stuff. And he brought up a really interesting point that I wanted to ask y'all about. Mexico, if they somehow manage to win a spot in the second round, I think we're all agreed that the chances are really high that they're probably going to play Brazil in the round of 16. And Arch made the point that of all the quote unquote big teams that Mexico can play, the one that they seem to bring it the most for is Brazil. Like it's the one where they don't freak out as much like if they play in Germany or France or in Argentina or someone like that. So with that being said, does that give anybody any knowing that and the proof is in the pudding that Mexico gives Brazil games? Is it a different Brazil? Is there no chance or can Mexicans think, hey, you know what? We've done this before. There's no reason why we can't do it again.
I don't think there's a chance
against Brazil.
Yeah,
I think so. I think there's a better chance.
Let me put it this way: if it was Brazil, England, or France, out of those three teams, who would you want Mexico to play?
Brazil.
England.
England.
I go Brazil, not because historically we've played them pretty well. We were Mexico's one of Mexico. Well, historically speaking, they're one of the few teams that have been able to beat Brazil in Brazil. I mean, they did it back in the 1960s, But going to now, if you think about it, under 20s, in the Confederations, we beat Brazil. In the 17s, we beat Brazil. In
the Olympics,
in the Olympics, Brazil. In the Gold Cup, Brazil. So they know.
America,
this team just isn't good though.
What's that?
This Mexico team isn't good. This Brazil team is really good.
Yeah. The balance is off right there, man. I'm with Raton on this.
I just finished watching the 2002 World Cup match between USA and Mexico.
Why did you do that?
For another podcast that I was asked to be on.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's cheating on us.
I'm watching this team and they are so that team was amazingly talented.
Slut.
As far as Mexico.
Sorry.
Rico Pirujo.
He was taking cocktail waitresses 2 at a time. Players couldn't get a drink at the table.
And then I look at the current team we have, and I'm like, wow, like the disparity in like who those guys were and who we have now. Like, I just don't see it. Like, I don't see us having the talent to beat a Brazil, especially this Brazil that just cruised through the CONMEBOL qualifying.
But Rigo, you're forgetting one little detail.
Yeah.
The 2002, Javier Aguirre basically made that team up out of nothing, basically using Pachuca and Cruz Azul.
Right, but I mean, if you look at the names and then you look at the names that we have now, I don't feel like we're going to talk about these names the way we talk about those names down the road. I don't think you're going to sit here and talk about any of the defenders that are on the national team now in the same aspect you do a Rafa Marquez or probably like Guardado's probably one of the only guys.
I'm trying to remember the team. Okay, you had Conejo Perez.
Starting lineup was Conejo Perez, Carmona, Vidrio, and Marquez in the back. It was a 3-5-2. It was
a 5-3-2. You had
Ramon Morales. Ramon Morales and Cabrito Arellano on the wings. Yeah. You had in the midfield it was Torrado, Johan Rodriguez, and
Caballero, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, not Caballero. Well, he was taken, but he wasn't playing in that game.
Okay.
Damn it. Who was the third midfielder?
Braulio Luna.
And then it was Cuauhtemoc and Borghetti up top.
It was Braulio Luna who was the third.
Braulio Luna. Yes. I just feel like, I mean, I don't think that's Mexico's golden generation team, or the best team they ever had, because I've always been a fan of the 98, 94 guys. But I just feel like I'm watching this game and I'm like, wow, we had so much talent, and we obviously lost to USA.
You mentioned those names, and outside of Rafa and Temoc and maybe Borghetti, I mean, I just don't see it, dude. I mean, Torrado, I guess, as well, but I mean,
I'll put Ramoncito in there.
Ramoncito, Cabrito.
Carmona
was a good defender.
But Cabrito, at the moment of truth, did like everybody else.
He was inconsistent. Cabrito, he wasn't, when he was on, he was on.
Oh, believe me. I mean, and he was at 98% a fantastic player. We needed that 2%. Against Belgium, against the Germans. I mean, against Italy. Even in the USA, I mean, he disappeared in the USA. He just was a non-factor.
He wasn't a very disciplined player. I mean, the guy, believe it or not, is a professional athlete, a professional soccer player, and he would smoke like a fucking chimney. He's like,
well, Socrates smoked 2 packs a day. Some, whatever, to each their own.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm not knocking on Cabrito, but you could tell that. And I'm not blaming him. I mean, it's just life. But sometimes you would think, it's like, dude, is he really taking his career seriously? Because he could have been better.
But I mean, I've seen lesser Mexico teams play better Brazil teams and give them a game.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I agree. I mean,
I think the one thing though is that you guys haven't mentioned is the fact that a lot of these wins have always been in group stages, where the pressure.
That's not necessarily true, because they won in the 17 final. They won in the Olympic final. They won 2 Gold Cup finals against Brazil.
Yeah, so they beat them in knockout stages.
Yeah, well, my thing with the Brazil
and against full teams too. So I mean, it's been a combo of both.
Take for example the group stage tie. Brazil had
dominating
1 million shots on Memo Ochoa, who he miraculously blocked. And how many did Mexico have? So it seems like these ties or these wins.
Mexico had like 7 or 8 shots. They just don't. I mean, the only one they had on goal was there at the end. But I mean, it's not like they just rolled over and died.
Oh no, they did good. They defended. They got dominated by Brazil. But
Can I throw a little stat for you on that game?
Yeah.
That was the first time in World Cup history that Brazil gave up that did not beat. Or that was drawn or did not beat a team in the group stage that wasn't from either Europe or South America. First time ever. And Brazil has made every World Cup.
Yeah, so I think the Brazil matchup is, I mean, yes, they do play up to them, but they barely play up to them, and the potential for disasters is pretty
Well,
high.
the potential for with Osorio, the potential for disasters there against South Korea. So let's
Where I do feel Mexico matches up well versus those other countries that you mentioned, the France, the
English,
the English is in the physicality aspect of it, where I don't feel like Brazil is gonna they're not bigger than us, and I don't feel like they're more physical than us. And that's where I think we do match up well. Where we don't match up well with the French or the English, where they're always bigger than us. They might in some aspects they might be faster than us, and definitely more physical than us.
Can I say one thing about Mexico and Brazil? And I think that is of all the big teams that Mexico plays, the only one whose head they can get into is Brazil's.
Yeah,
don't ask me how, don't ask me why, but Mexico can get into their heads. And if they get into their heads, if they play in the round of 16 and they get into their heads, I mean...
Even Mexico's fans were able to rattle Brazil's fans.
I mean, it's for whatever reason. I mean,
man.
Think of that goal that Oribe scored in London in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And again, which was started by defensive, pressuring the defenders. I mean, if that was, Korea scoring that or Honduras or somebody, Brazil's like, hey, it's not a problem. We'll get it back. Because Mexico's like, oh my God, not again. Who are these guys? It's the one team that Mexico. Of course, they've played them a bunch too, and I think that helps. I mean, we play Argentina occasionally in World Cup stuff, but we don't ever play Argentina in an official competition outside of that ever. It just doesn't happen. Very rarely. But Brazil and Mexico's played, at least in the 21st century, just constantly, and at every level. The U17s, the U20s, and they've gotten some results. I mean, these guys. There's going to be 3 or 4 guys on the U17 that's going to be in this World Cup that beat them 3-0 in a World Cup final in the U17. So they're not intimidated at all, and haven't been. And I just wanted to throw that out there. I was just curious what y'all thought about that. Let's go ahead and move on. We do have our full plate. So over the weekend on Sunday morning, as stories come out, there was a story in Mexico that came out that there was kind of an expose on how Pachuca was able to, what the building blocks they used for their empire, and it was it didn't paint Pachuca and the Pachuca owners in the best light at all, and it just seemed very interesting about where the report came from and the timing of that, and I'm glad that Ron's on. I know that we hadn't had Ron on for a couple of weeks because this is an area where Ron, I think, is as big an expert as I think that we can find that knows Mexican soccer. So Ron, please, why don't you elaborate on what happened? Because I know I'm not doing a very good job with it.
I think the report that Televisa did, I mean, it's first and foremost, it's not a new report.
So what did the report describe? What was the essence of the report?
The essence of the report basically was that Grupo Pachuca, or Jesus Martinez, basically built his empire off not so much corruption, although you could, obviously you have to have proof of the corruption, but that they built their empire with the government, as far as the government, cutting them deals, meaning, and to me, first and foremost, I don't see that as a sin. If a municipality says, you know what, I'll give this to you, just make sure you develop it.
So none of this was illegal. So basically, they got a handout.
Well, yes, it's a handout. I don't know if it's corruption. Yes, you can speculate. Yeah, something for something. You can say that, but without facts, we're just speculating. But what is true is that it was basically a transfer. It was a transfer of assets that Pachuca got. Now, I don't think that's a sin. That happens in every country.
Right.
Something like I remember a couple of years back, in Monterrey, there was a piece of land that was developed into these little futsal, futsal arenas, pitches. and like the government basically, gave these guys like, hey, just develop it. It's like, okay, boom. I don't think that's the sin. I think the sin is that, after 20 plus years, I mean, really, you haven't paid one water bill in 20 years. Up until recently, they finally paid their first water bill.
I mean, you have to pay for water. I don't pay for water. Do you pay for water?
But that's really the expose is that they've gone.
And Ron,
and they also had paid taxes as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So it's
but
a combination.
The water, before Ron, I just want to cut you out there. Yeah, the water's a big deal right there because they have, I don't know how many acres and so many fields.
True.
I mean, we say water and it doesn't sound that much, but
well, you're right, Joel.
I
Tell you, Joel, that it rains a hell of a lot more in Pachuca than it does in Los Angeles. So let's not forget that.
No, but you're right. I mean, I'm not condemning. I'm not condemning. Pachuca that they, were able to work, with the government. But it's just that it seems, and the appearances are really, really bad in terms of what they've gotten and what the state has gotten, and that's where the outrage may lie. Right.
Now, let me ask you this. Now, I mean, it's not as if Pachuca, turn around and did a Veracruz where they're, back and forth, promotion, relegation, they don't do anything. It's, at least Pachuca with the favors that they received, the handouts that they got, were able to build a very healthy, competitive
environment. Yeah.
Strong. And then something that I think, that has also helped the economy of the state. So it's not as if that they took this stuff and just took the money and ran. I mean, at least they had the quote unquote decency to make good on their promise. Hey, we're going to develop this stuff and blah blah blah. So they actually, on that end, like you said, everyone, I mean, you got to think that if you're not in a big city like that, I mean, it's got to be hard to.
If you look at Pachuca and you've been in Pachuca, it's a really small town.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot to do. And in terms of like tourism, it's like it's not.
It wouldn't surprise me, Ron, if we looked and saw that the stadium is probably their number one tourist attraction.
Like if you go to like Google Maps, Google Earth, and you look over Pachuca, that's really what sticks out the most. Believe it or not, because the way like the seating in the stadium and stuff like that.
I will say it gets cold there in the winter too. I mean, it is not a warm place. That's what they call it the Bella Airosa for a reason.
Yeah. So like again, I mean, what Televisa did, the report was spot on. They provided all the documentations.
Sure.
Basically, they did everything that Fútbol Picante does not do.
Right.
They actually provided proof. Boom, there it is.
Yeah, you're saying that if they would have done the expose on Nettie being paid by the federation, they actually would have brought the paperwork to prove it. Say, hey, I've seen the paperwork. The paperwork is scandalous. I saw it. I can't show it to y'all, but just know that it would blow your mind with what I saw.
Yeah, the type of report that they did was just as good as when they did it on Jorge Vergara and Grupo OmniLife, Chivas. It's to like them not paying. They couldn't even pay their permit fees. But no, anyhow, I digress here. I think that obviously people are saying that the reason this report is coming out is because Grupo Pachuca for a while now, they've been kind of like the black sheep,
right,
within the federation, and you'd have to be naive not to acknowledge that. But
it reminds me. Have you ever played Risk? The board game?
No, I have not.
Any of y'all ever played Risk, the board game?
Yeah.
Okay, Chiquis. Did you play it a lot? Joel, I'm shocked you never played Risk. I'm shocked.
Is it Star Wars Risk?
Star Wars Risk.
So Chiquis, how do you win at Risk? Well, what is the one tried and true strategy in Risk?
It's been a while. You have to get control over
Australia.
Australia? That's
right.
the one country?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, so So Ronnie, it seems like they went and attacked Australia, and they ran out of dudes, and now they're in trouble.
Yeah, and this goes back to that little, that comparison that I've always made, where the Mexican Federation, it's like that scene in the movie Spy Game where, they're on the top of the roof and Robert Redford is telling Brad Pitt, it's, basically you better stay on the reservation because you go out, I'm not coming back for you. And the relationship that Grupo Pachuca, the actions that they've taken in the past couple of years, it was a matter of time because there's still the old guard is still there. And for a while, people thought that, oh my God, it's the end of the old guard. No,
not quite yet.
No, I mean, I guarantee you right now, Azcárraga and Billy Alvarez and them like that, they're probably just listening to their iPods, listening to Jefe de Jefes,
Right, well, I'll tell you what they're listening to. They're listening to the CantinaMX Podcast. Is what
they're better. Yeah. No, but like I said, I mean that in a way, I'm kind of glad that Televisa took this report because obviously everybody's known about this for a long time. Numerous newspapers, local and state, and Hidalgo have covered the story.
You're taking pleasure in this though because you like to hate on Pachuca.
I believe it or not, I am taking pleasure because I think that.
Oh, I believe it.
Because you kind of have to, not necessarily, bend over and kiss their ass, but you have to at least show respect to the ones that were there before you and that have established it. It's not easy, dude. It's not easy being a club owner. People, say that, they're just, you got,
I'm sorry, I didn't distract you.
Ron is correct, though. If you look at, we talked about this before. If you go down the list of clubs, a lot of them have new owners, or the owners haven't been there that long. Just recently, both Morelia and Atlas under TV Azteca. Chivas was purchased from Vergara, took over around 2002.
Yeah.
That's not that long ago. So I mean, and that's the majority of clubs. Necaxa, this is like their fifth owner.
Yeah, they've had a while.
Yeah, since
Pachuca came in the late '80s, early '90s. That's when Pachuca came about.
But it's been the
same family. Do you really think this will really hurt them?
What's that?
Do you really think this story will hurt them?
Obviously,
get disaffiliated.
They're not going to get.
They're not going to get this. That's not going to happen.
They're going to bend the knee.
But what's going to happen is now, guess what? With this, with them not paying the government, you can better believe that they're going to have to. They're going to be on top of them for that now.
Hey, Ron, so, I have I don't mean to break it to you about Mexico, but you'd be surprised how many people don't pay taxes in Mexico.
Oh, I know that. More than 50%. More than 50% of the individuals and more than 50% of corporations in Mexico do not pay.
Is it optional?
What's that?
Is it optional?
So it's. But I just think that Pachuca, and I remember watching the interview that Pachuca had or Martinez had with Jose Ramon and David Faitelson. And he's like, hey, let's get in new players because you know what? At the end, you're gonna have to pay less, and you'll get more. But Pachuca, they have more to lose than Pachuca. You know what I mean? They have a lot more to lose. Pachuca, on the other hand, what they basically got almost everything. I wouldn't say for free because obviously he had to pay, but it's not like he had a lot of liabilities because the government was giving them sweet deals.
Well, I think that's the part that was probably going to upset if folks are going to be upset about it is okay. So you get this this interest-free loan from the government, that you don't pay back. So it's basically it's a gift, and then on top of that you don't even you don't pay your municipal bills.
And even then, I mean, you guys may have a different opinion on this, but me, I don't see that as a crime. I don't see that as a sin either, because, and I've said this before, that obviously the way things are in Mexico, I mean, the government really doesn't need to be spending money on sports. I mean, they really need to be spending on schools, man. So I don't fault that. So if you have private owners that are willing to, obviously with the deals, like, hey, just cut, with the taxes or whatever, or give me 10 years so I don't have to do anything, pay you for anything. I don't care about that. But with Pachuca, I think that they've tried to impose their way, and I don't think they've paid their dues for them to do it. You know what I mean? And I don't blame the other clubs that have retaliated against them.
Now, do you think that the next TV contract that Pachuca gets, you think it's going to be with Televisa, Ron?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised, because keep in mind, dude, there was a time when Pachuca, Televisa and TV Azteca didn't get along, and now they're tied at the hip.
They share programming, huh?
What's that?
They share programming, some.
Yeah.
They'll both broadcast the final and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, they both broadcast the three.
And yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They both have the rights.
So it wouldn't surprise me that I think what's going to have to happen is that Pachuca is going to have to basically get back in rank and file and say, okay, yes sir. I think that's what's going to have to happen.
Well, they've had their many flare-ups with the federation before. I mean, they were, well, not flare-ups, but I mean they've certainly been influential. And in 2001 when Pachuca loses the final to Santos, and then everyone thought the Quirarte, because this was when they were replacing Ojitos, ended up going with Aguirre. So I'm sure Pachuca was influential there. And then they brought Aguirre back in 2010 after Vergara had made a hash of things with Sven.
Yeah.
So I mean they've had a better relationship, but yeah, I mean they certainly they tried their little coup and it didn't work, and this was probably the first of many acts of revenge.
Yeah, and the league, believe it or not, the history in Mexican football is plagued with those type of instances where like, for example, there was a time when there was actually two leagues in Mexico, and we're going back to the 1920s and 1930s, and the reason for the being was there was the one league where, well, actually, this is actually kind of like the history of the federation, where the federation wanted to basically, like, you had the owners, well, actually not the owners, but the clubs that were building their stadiums, but the federation wanted to keep the money.
Right.
So
that sounds like a fair deal. You guys build a stadium, we'll get the gate.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the history of and if you guys read it, dude, it's actually really fascinating. You could actually really make a series about it. You really could. But I just think I just think it's ridiculous, because now they're obviously, this is giving more ammo for the Pacto de Caballeros and stuff like that, and for me, I mean, obviously the one great sin in the Pacto de Caballeros is that, okay, yes, players don't have full autonomy over their careers, but I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to take that trade-off for what they've done, because most of these clubs, believe it or not, are not like Pachuca. Most of these clubs had to, build their clubs the old-fashioned way of investing their own money. Because I mean, keep in mind, most of these clubs were clubs that had socios, that had members that had to pay to build their own stadiums. It's not like they were getting sweetheart deals and stuff like that.
So they had the socios, when there was time for pledge drive, that they would send Pancho over to find El Licenciado's checkbook.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Chivas, the one that had their first installations, and stuff like that. Not stadium, but as far as, like, Casa Club and stuff like that, and training
but
facilities.
They didn't own the stadium though.
But I mean, you also had the teams in Mexico City, like Asturias and Deportivo Español, that also had like Casa Clubs and stuff like that, but not to the way that Chivas had it, where they had it all. The ones that Vergara sold and kept the money.
Right.
So the ones that he wasn't allowed to sell.
Yeah.
Oh, the actual Club Deportivo, like the installation.
He took it from them.
From the socios, sold it, and kept the money.
Oh man.
Yeah. Because technically those properties were owned by a nonprofit, and fucking Vergara just
Well, I agree with you, Ron, but I don't think that there are any angels in Liga MX. I think that every club has their own skeletons with whatever decisions that had to be made. And I'm not just saying in Mexico. I think that happens in every league all over the world. It's I've said this before. Sports on the field is noble and honorable, and we get that. The business of sport is nowhere near that. So let's not pretend that it is.
But here's the thing.
So. Yeah, I mean, this was a shot across the bow. Pachuca, I'm sure the message was received loud and clear, and I'm sure that now they're gonna have a sit down at some point.
Yeah. Which
is what the intention was of this piece.
But the thing is, I don't think you can call it corruption because again, keep in mind, you're willing to tolerate it as an owner. Oscar's willing to tolerate it as an owner. I mean, you're willing to sometimes lose and get screwed over and not go to court, because technically you're not supposed to go to court within the federation. You're supposed to keep dirty business, dirty laundry within house.
Right. We'll take care of it at our gin tournament next Thursday.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if you guys recall that meeting, when Blatter they had Blatter's.
Oh yeah, when was that Sutcliffe and they were asking the questions like, how do you feel about multipropiedad? I was like, hey, if y'all don't care about it, we don't care about it.
If one of the owners does not complain, then what can I do?
That's exactly what he said.
It is.
So funny.
And it's true. It's true. I mean, it's like, okay, man, if you're willing to tolerate it, I mean, Jesus, think of Cruz Azul, dude. You had brothers shooting at brothers, with guns, and you remember that? You recall that a couple of years ago?
Oh, that was Mapaches, wasn't it?
No. It's like the Alvarez is like the clan of Alvarez's and the clan of like Guzman or Garces and stuff like that. I mean, these guys were basically getting in rounds of fisticuffs, dude. They didn't go to the courts or to the law. They handled it, in house.
My favorite karmic Mexican owner soccer story I've heard over the past 2 or 3 years was when Atlas finally sold the team to TV Azteca, and TV Azteca was late in paying the club owners. Yeah. That just I love that. That was like, that's just wonderful. That's wonderful. Do I have some commentary on the chat, Ron, that we need to get into? Yep. Constantino Banda says, que no mame Televisa, they built an effing school with the property. That's what he says. They built an effing school with the property. Que no mame Televisa. It's what
Grupo Pachuca.
Constantino has retorted with
Hijo la chingada, no mames, güey.
To Televisa is what he's saying. So will Pachuca bend at the knee, gentlemen?
But I would ask Constantino. I would ask Constantino if he knows how and from who they got their properties from. Where the current Aztec Stadium stands and their Cuapa. I would ask him that if he knows the answers, because I do.
Ron throwing down the knowledge gauntlet here on the.
It was actually donated. The lands that they built, their stuff. It was actually lands donated from Azcárraga grandfather. And if you actually look at and it's like, well, those actually lands back in the day were kind of worthless, because if you look at pictures before, it was barren lands. There was nothing there. It was just basically rancho.
It's not like that now.
No. I think I showed you pictures of like
it's
stadium.
Crazy to me, because I mean I used to grow up as a kid looking by. I mean it is like just I mean, there's not one tiny bit of empty space at all. I mean, it is like just wall to wall streets and buildings.
Yeah,
and that picture looks like Lubbock.
Yeah, and I said if you Google search, construcción de TV or the Azteca, Estadio Azteca, and you do the Google images searches, you'll see the stadium, and just the land around it is vast. It's like nothing's there. It's like it's kind of hard to imagine,
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so Joel, you said that Pachuca bends at the knee.
Yeah, I think they already did.
Yeah. So.
Yes, sir. Keep in mind, they were, I think they're going to respect that whole hierarchy that's in place. And I think Slim pulling out is a pretty good indicator. Slim was like, I don't want none of this,
Right. So Ron has will Pachuca bend at the knee, or do you think they already have?
I don't think they've learned their lesson yet.
No.
Nah. I don't.
Are they gonna have to go Ramsey Bolton on Pachuca then?
There's gonna be a battle of the bastards, and it's gonna get tough. I don't think it's over yet. Because it's been too easy for Martinez, for Grupo Pachuca these past plus years, and easy in the sense that they haven't had a lot of barriers. You know what I mean?
Right.
That they haven't had a lot of barriers. That that the government's been helpful and stuff like that. And hey, and that's good. And I think it's like maybe in their mentality is like what, screw these guys.
But they were going after the national team.
Yeah.
They got pretty far in the league and have built up some influence, and then they were trying to go after the whole television deals, and that's they obviously stepped on some people there.
Dude, a lot of people have tried, dude. Burillo, Escárraga, Mauro,
And then in the 23rd hour of the negotiations, it was found that Televisa had a right of first refusal clause that they just found in the contract.
They didn't read the fine print.
It was amended. It was amended last night.
It's like a footnote.
Yeah. Well, Constantino says he said, "Educate me, man." So I believe that you did that, Ron, with your the vast knowledge of the history, not just the history of Liga MX, the history of the business of Liga MX, which I know you take a keen interest in. So.
And you know what? Mentioning the clause, really quick, Ron. Mention the clause you're talking about, John.
Yes.
That was Garth Martinez, who the Pachuca guy, who went on the air saying, "I don't recall seeing such a thing." So he complained publicly, and I think that's another reason why he's getting attacked.
Constantino's saying that he doesn't think Pachuca is going to back down, and one of the reasons is because of the backing from Tigres and Monterrey. I think Tigres and Monterrey are basically took this option. It's like, hey, maybe these guys can do it. And now that they see that Pachuca is not, they'll get back into rank and file.
No, but you know what?
But here's the thing. If Tigres and Monterrey, let's be honest, dude, they're going to be the flavors of the month, dude. They don't have as much a reach national as people think they do.
Yeah, they are definitely a regional team. There's no question.
So
and they're dependent on the what is it called? Goddamn. What they Monterrey dependent on FEMSA and Tigres on
CEMEX.
Yeah, but CEMEX is not they're not as strong as they used to be.
They're not the number one cement manufacturer anymore?
They're like number 2.
Well, I think that I'm sure they're still making a pile of money, don't get me wrong, but I think that they've kind of changed their philosophy, and that's why this gentleman was telling me that lives in Monterrey that it's not, they're not the free will, the crazy spenders that they've always been. I mean, they're gonna,
okay.
Be
I know,
smart.
but if they ever pulled away their support,
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any question that outside of Televisa that those two teams are the ones that have the most financial clout. I mean, they could put screws on you in different ways. those two. So, but I think the fact, Ron, that they're both essentially a regional team, which they are, very popular in the region. There's no question, but no one is gonna lose any sleep over missing the Tigres game in Campeche. That's just the reality.
I've been to games in the U.S. Where like Tigres plays or Pachuca.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. Copa Texas. This was back in 2004, and it was a tournament between Everton, Club America, and Pachuca. And the first match was Pachuca Everton, and I was at the game. Dude, there was probably, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, there was probably 200 people in the stadium to watch it. And most of I would say that half of them were from England.
Right.
And I remember I took a picture of of Jesus Martinez and stuff like that down on pitch level and stuff like that, and you could tell he was pissed, And when I was interviewing the guys from Everton, and I think you got rustled when I told you this, but when Everton's like, yeah, we've heard that Club America, they're like the Manchester United of Mexico, But going back, it's like I've been to games where where Tigres is there, and even Pachuca, and it's like they don't have that pull that Cruz Azul has or Chivas has or America has, So I don't think that Pachuca's gonna, I think they're still gonna be a little bit defiant, but overall, in the end, I think that the old guard is still gonna be, in a cushy position.
Well, they control for now at least the one medium that's still the most widely received, and that's TV. So until something different comes along, it's going to be very difficult to knock them off that perch. All right, gentlemen, let's move on, because as we know, anytime that Chivas loses, it's we have to run into the Chivas Crisis Center, and they've been losing quite a bit. This is Joel. Chivas is not playing well. They've won one game in Guadalajara since the final that they won against Tigres. One game, Chivas has won at home.
And
those are Atlas-like numbers, Joel.
Chivo Hermano left. I think he saw this coming, and he
¿Se fue?
He booked it to his other podcast. But and we talked about this last week, and I was saying the Monterrey game was going to be my, a better ruling stick than the Necaxa match. But the two home games Chivas has played this season, they lost both of them. 3-1 to Cruz Azul and 2-1 to Monterrey. So they have allowed 5 goals, which is not very convincing.
Right.
And so they played Puebla, who ironically has won. Their only 2 wins are both at home, against Tigres and against Veracruz. But Chivas might be, I was hearing there could be about 7 players that might not be available.
They're gonna have to dig deep into the Chiverío.
Yeah, man. So I mean, another bad result, and then they face Santos dance team at home, and that's and John, I've been saying this for a long time. My one complaint on Almeida is he's never been able to make the Akron Stadium, formerly Zombie Life. He's never been able to make it like a hard venue, a difficult venue. Santos could be dangerous. You got the Giannini up until this past week. He's one of the top, I'll say, just ratings wise, he's probably top 3 right now in Liga MX players. Just performance, his numbers he's putting in.
Right.
And I mean, you have your shaky defense, and a guy like Di Giannini is we practically rolling the welcome home mat for that guy to have a good game.
Now, part of the reason that that defense has been shaky is that Osvaldo Alanis has not been playing, and we actually Chiquis was able to catch up with him yesterday.
Oh,
and
nice.
We're still gonna find Alanis. Here's Alanis.
Se hicieron cosas buenas también de lo que trabajamos con Juan Carlos en estos 2 días. También pues el triunfo creo que también te deja un buen sabor de boca. Pues bien, te digo que cuesta un poco el tema del ritmo, detallito nada más, que por ahí se van a ir agarrando conforme vaya teniendo el ritmo de juego, pero pese a tener muchos en jugar, creo que se hace un buen partido, creo que el desempeño que tuve creo que son un mes y medio que no he jugado, pero bien contento y ahorita tranquilo de que vienen buenas cosas y pensar en lo que viene ahora.
And the other one I didn't have Joel there was that they're asking him, are you gonna start playing again? And he's like, hey, good, he's like, what happens, but I expect to be in good position to make a run at the World Cup. So I think that the shaky defense might get some fortification here soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think Almeida can't afford at this point to keep leaving them out. I mean,
how on earth can you leave out a starter for the national team?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. He hasn't been playing. He played on the national team before he played a game with Chivas, and he's not even injured.
That's crazy. Almeida to me is seeming like he's really getting upset and frustrated with everything. He's complaining about not getting reinforcements, not getting new signings, and now he doesn't put in Alanis. So it's
not his call, I don't think it's his call. The whole with Alanis, I just think he has to do it.
Which is so dumb. Why are you?
So he's being puppeted,
right?
Along with not getting new players signed, and now I think he wants out, dude. I think he's like.
Yeah, I called it, man. See, Chiquis, you listen to the podcast. The writing was on the wall, man. You know what looked bad? I don't know if you guys remember when the whole Alanis incident came out, and then Vergara made up. He talked to the press and he said, "I'm gonna punish who's responsible for this," and that was that. Nothing happened. Nothing happened, man. Everyone was expecting like a fallout or something with Higuera, because at this point everyone knows it's Higuera moving the. And
now Constantino on the chat, Joel has responded.
Yes.
He says Chivas' model is not sustainable. They don't have the quality in their cantera. The best Mexicans are not playing in Chivas. So, but they can't afford the best Mexicans right now.
No, he's right. The previous game, I think there was only 2 canteranos on the field. Only 2, and that's for as long as Almeida has been there. There was all this talk about having half or more than half of the players from the youth team, and that says a lot. That you can't even. There's not that much talent right there coming out, and that well has been drying up for Chivas for quite a while. There hasn't really been that many known players coming out.
Which was a change of philosophy, I guess. Is that did that start with Higuera? Because at least around 2000, at the beginning of this decade, the Chivas they would not buy players, and they would rather give canteranos a shot. So they've kind of changed the way they're doing things.
Well, 2 things happened, John. The one was when what's her face, Vergara's ex-wife, Angelica, was there. So she disrupted a lot. She sold the 2nd division team. She messed up a lot of stuff, fired a lot of people, and around the same time, Nestor left. So a lot of the people that had been working there for a long time like Güero Real, that I know that Profe Cambiarrayas dislikes. All those people were gone, and they put in a new or promoted.
All right.
And
gun to your head. Vergara says, or what was it? Is it the Dark Knight where the Joker says, or is it Two-Face? No, it's the Joker. He says, you can only save either your girlfriend or Two-Face.
Oh.
And so if you can only save one, are you saving Güero Real or Nestor?
I'll go for Nestor, man.
Nestor, so
yeah.
Adios, Güero. Gracias, pero.
But Güero's been gone, man. He's in Toluca. If he stays there, I think you'll see the results in about 4 years. So I'll keep reminding you guys, though. I'm that autistic. I'll keep bringing it up as long as he stays. But
I don't know if you bring up his name more or the fact that America won. What was that bogus title that America won in '85? Was it the Prode?
Yes.
Yeah, those are your two your wheelhouse items.
No, but the whole thing was they haven't invested like in youth as much as they say they have. They got rid of all of these coaches, and then they didn't really bring any other or anyone with talent to rework the system. So it's just, I don't know, man. It might be running on fumes.
Well, the results really haven't now, and like you said, Joel, it's a big test because Puebla has played well at home. They beat Tigres at home in the first game of the season, which is no small feat. They did have to capitulate last week with a lot, but they have 6 points, I believe. So this is this is a big big game for Chivas again. It's
yeah.
If it doesn't work out for Chivas this week, how many more weeks then do you give the Almeida era lasting?
It comes down to Higuera. I think Almeida's like the most popular coach Chivas has had in the past 30 years, like hands down. Just how much he's liked. I think the closest you get, if you have to name another coach that has that type of popularity, it's like Tuca,
right?
Who's, as you said, he's never been sacked, and so I think not Higuera. I mean, Almeida, just because of the popularity, and you don't want to have like the fans and everyone like on you. I think they would leave him to the end of the season.
And do you think Almeida would stick? Is he professional enough? And I don't mean that saying something bad about him, but is he professional enough to stick it out to the end, or you think that he's the kind of guy that will say, you know what, I can't do this anymore, I'm out of here?
No, I think if an offer came along, he would leave.
Well, I mean, but is he just gonna just like leave, or is he? No,
he wouldn't leave. He wouldn't leave. I think he knows that Liga MX is a nice meal ticket, man. I mean, we have Roman Romano right now. He's back at Atlas, man. That guy's made a whole career coaching, and he hasn't been very successful. But I think that's the type of league we have.
His 10th team.
I think, yeah. I don't know. This is another good study we could probably do, like compared to other leagues. How many coaches, get so many opportunities as in Liga MX?
Right. And how many? The other study I like to see is how many foreign, particularly Argentine coaches, how many of those guys get more chances than like a Mexican coach?
Yeah, they for sure get more. And I was participating in the Chivas forum in Big Soccer, and I was saying if Almeida wasn't as popular as he is, people would be calling for his head because he only has in the past 31 or 32 games. The team has only won 6 times.
Right.
And it's like...
well, I think the true Chivas fans understood that last season, with all the injuries and stuff, that it was going to be a tough season.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but there's been no improvement, though. Because, for me, I was expecting an improvement now that your players recovered, but there's almost been none,
Well, it's... I mean, I would say that they're playing better. You know, I know Ron always brings up the analogy of his when he was in high school and he was in a hitting slump, but when he was making good contact. I think Chivas is making good contact with how they're playing. I think it's only a matter of time.
When Ron was in a slump, he would go to Whataburger.
I went to Whataburger during the podcast a couple weeks ago. I was at the same time ashamed and also.
Did you go at midnight though to look for the gordiwapas or?
What? You know, Whataburger is well. Actually, you know what? After midnight, Whataburger actually would be a good place to go. To go.
You look for the slum busters there.
Huh?
No, that's what I'm saying. That was Ron's spot. You know.
Ron, is that where you is that where you went to go to the Wapa hunting? Whataburger.
It's their
right after Rita, he would go to Whataburger.
No. It's their attempt to delegitimize a Whataburger because they're all about their own California In-N-Out burgers and stuff like that. That's where that came about.
Yeah.
Joel, are you an In-N-Out guy? I don't
yes,
think you care.
Man.
I don't think you care.
No. To be fair, I never had Whataburger, but In-N-Out is you know.
You know, we have In-N-Outs here now.
I know, just like one though, I think, right?
No, we have like 4 in Austin, which frankly, and I'm not going to lie, has taken all the joy out of eating In-N-Out. Because when I was in California, it was a thing you go do when you go to California, and then you go and you lick your fingers because it's so good because it's it's a little different. And now that it's here, it's like, eh.
Well, I got another spot for you then, John. When you come to
what's that?
It's
Hit me.
The Apple Pan.
¿Cuál?
Apple Pan.
The Apple Pan.
It's really small. It's been open since like the 1940s.
Yeah, good burger.
To me, that's the best one, man.
Really?
That's my personal, yeah.
Because Kimberly and I, we're knocking around the idea of doing like a quick little jaunt, like an end of February, beginning of March, to LA. So we might have to add that to the
no, you should
to the itinerary, because my Kimberly is she's also a burger file. So we will.
And look, they only have 2 hamburgers there. I saw they sell 2 burgers. And it's been open since the 1940s.
So, like, if you don't get there, are you saying if you don't get there early enough, the 2 burgers could be gone because they only sell 2?
They only sell 2 types of burgers, I should say.
Oh, okay. So they have hamburger and cheeseburger. Is that what they have?
They have a hickory burger and like a steak burger, and that's it.
Yeah, which one do you recommend?
Both.
Both, really?
Yes.
Interesting. Have you ever had both at the same time?
Well, I thought. Yes, I have.
Do you 2-fist when you go to the apple cart?
No, I take my sweet time. I don't go there often, but the one restaurant that opened was Johnny Rockets. I don't know if you heard of that one.
Yeah, I think we had Johnny Rockets around here too.
With Johnny Rockets, the owner, he used to eat at the Apple Pan, and he was trying to get them to franchise.
Really?
But they didn't want none of that. So.
How do you feel about Tommy's?
I like it, although I haven't been there in a while, but I used to be a to-go spot before. Well, I'm going way back to the 90s, man, during the rave scene. That's where all the cool kids would hang out.
At Tommy's?
At 3 a.m., yeah.
Right.
Dan probably was there. I think he left us, though.
He did. He and Rigo got in, all that America chat, obviously. Turned him off. They don't want to.
I can see Dan, though, showing up there with his glow sticks.
And I do when Ron is when he gets poetic about Club America and we hit him with the drums, I always make sure to at the very, very end, because I know it was Dan's favorite part when the eagle comes in, we turn the music up a little bit just so that we can enjoy that. But I had Tommy's in Burbank, and apparently there is the one in is it Santa Monica or the one in your neighborhood that's the original?
I'm not sure, man. To be honest.
Well, regardless, it was definitely quite good. We have a place here in Austin called Huts. That again, and there's Huts and Dirties. They're probably the 2 that are the most iconic. Dirties on the drag or by campus. and Hutz is on 6-3. It's really good. Ron, am I crazy, or was the first Fuddruckers in Houston?
I'm not sure if it was. I mean, I've been there a long time ago. I mean, but I don't know if it was the first one was in Houston. That's something that I'd have to.
Yeah. I have a sneaky. I'm gonna look at. I have a sneaky feeling it was. And when I was a kid, Fuddruckers used to be. It was the place for burgers. They were outstanding when I was a kid. Ron, it sounds like you're training hard, Ron.
No, I'm actually typing right now.
Yeah.
I said it was Rocky 3, not Rocky 4.
Oh, Rocky 3. Oh.
No, it's cool. Both soundtracks are awesome. Both soundtracks are awesome.
I'm so ashamed. I hit you with the wrong one.
Ron didn't want Hearts on Fire.
Yeah, but hey, by the way, you guys with the whole Chivas stock and stuff like that, am I going to get into the Daily Goat?
To the Daily Goat, the super secret Chivas chat?
Yeah.
You have to be a Chivas fan, man. There's no.
I mean,
there's no other way around it.
You're gonna corrupt that thing, man. You already corrupted the Cambia Raya. Oh, you're.
Yeah, you already corrupted the Legion Cambia Rayas.
You are quite the grenade thrower in there, Ronnie. Congratulations. Actually, I am too. I like throwing some grenades. I'll throw a couple of grenades in the Chivas chat too. But I will say this: we have some very pragmatic Chivas fans. We don't have like the Joel. I used to call you a self-loathing Chivas fan. I don't think you're a self-loathing Chivas. You're not the kind of guy that just watches Chivas whipping himself in the back, like they're an Opus Dei. You guys are actually very pragmatic Chivas fans, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, no, man. Those 10-year waits are, pretty brutal, man. Like,
I hear you, man. It's going on 7 years that Pumas had done it, and we've had droughts of upwards of, what was it, like 14, 15 years too. So,
but in more recent time, you guys have been more on it. You know what I mean? Just from at least in the league and doing the back-to-back and all that. Well, Pumas has there's a reason why they're considered one of the Cuatro Grandes, but I think out of the four, they're definitely number 4. There's no question about that. And if Cruz Azul ever wins a title, the people that are going to come out, the ashamed Cruz Azul fans that have never admitted to being a Cruz Azul fan, they're going to come out of the woodwork like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, John, and we have them we peg them as favorites to win. They're undefeated, so that's good. That's always good.
You're absolutely right, Joel. In fact, if we look at the table right now, I'm not going to lie. Pumas is still for the third week in a row topping the table, which frankly is a minor miracle. I don't think that anyone would dispute that, considering how awful they were last season. And then we have Monterrey, which one would expect, and Tijuana and America all have 8 points, but Pumas is up with a goal differential. Dan's Santos bringing it with 7 points, as well as Tigres and Morelia and León at 7, Cruz Azul at 6 with Puebla. And then Toluca has 5, and then the teams with 4 points are Necaxa, Pachuca, Querétaro, and Chivas. Veracruz, Lobos, BUAP, and Atlas. Atlas bringing the rear with a big fat 0. So even though Atlas has been bought by TV Azteca, you can take Atlas out of the club, but you can't take Atlas out of the team. Apparently, they are at. I would love to have an Atlas fan on our podcast so that they can.
I don't think I've ever met one, John.
No. Kind of like Joel, when before Chivas had won the championship here on the podcast, and I always tell you, like, you'd have like your Chivas catharsis when you'd come on here, and it was like like peeling layers of an onion for you. We're getting down to the core stuff, and we dropped the sad fluid on you a few times when you're talking about your things that have happened to you, like Chicharo. You finally have an incredible goal scorer, and he's seduced by by fame and fortune over in England, and yeah. So you have come a long way as a Chivas fan here. You have grown as a person and as a fan here on the podcast. So we need to have an Atlas intervention for an Atlas fan. Does anybody knows anyone that's on the chat of an Atlas fan that wants to vent? Because I'm sure they have a lot to vent. You know what it would be like? You remember when in that Seinfeld episode, Ron, where George is trying to get an apartment, and there's some dude that was a Andrew Doria survivor, and they wanted to go with him. He's like, "Do you want to talk about bad stuff that's happened in George?" And the way they shot it was beautiful. And they did like these really long close-ups of George just talking about all the bad stuff that's happened to him, and just it's like 5 or 6 long slow dissolves. And the stuff was it's like, and there was significant shrinkage. You have to understand, and then he leaves by saying, "Oh, and by the way, last summer my fiance died because of toxic glue on the envelopes that I bought because I was too cheap to buy the one she wanted." Anyway, so is that what it's going to be for Atlas, for an Atlas fan to come on the show to just like 20 minutes of just misery?
To be honest, John, I don't think I know an Atlas fan or an Necaxa fan.
I know an Atlas fan. I wonder if he would do it. I wonder if he would come on and because I guarantee you he has never had the chance to just pour it all out as an Atlas fan. I'm gonna have to see if that would be possible. Just he's kind of a public guy, so I don't know if he would be willing to do it or not. But he's definitely an Atlas fan.
And the only really Atlas guys that stand out to me are Perro Bermúdez and El Torre de Jalisco. Other than that, I don't really, as far as like personally that I know.
Hector Huerta is a big Atlas fan too. That's the guy we need to have on, is Hector Huerta.
With his conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Who was the guy on Big Soccer that sent Hector Huerta like Pebble Beach or something?
I don't know. No, I think it was Falcoson.
No, it was Hector.
No, it was Huerta.
It was Huerta?
He catfished them to go to like Pebble Beach or something like that.
Well, he talked about the email on the show.
Something
and
about
this guy showed he put the exchange. So I mean, it was obvious that it was him that was trolling Huerta, and he did a really good job about that.
Yeah, something to do with Cañedo White and Hugo Sanchez playing golf at some.
No, it was one of the promoters. He said he looked like Al Pacino or something like that. It was one promoter. I think it's the one promoter that always gets linked to Cruz Azul.
Oh, Carlos Hurtado.
Yeah, there you go.
There's two of them, right? Hurtado and Lara is the other one, right?
Lara, yeah, and so this guy was trying to like pin it on one of those two guys. But
so, Ron, do you think that Pachuca's going to have a tough time signing players for the next year or two?
Nah, because they can always go to South America.
So they'll just find another promoter?
They'll find another one. I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, phone calls suddenly or won't be going unanswered?
No. I think, there's, it's, South America's a lot of, it's vast, so I mean, whether one area gets locked down and stuff like that where they can't do any business with,
right?
They'll find another avenue. There's
another territory, some other turf they can make a deal in.
Yeah, I think they'll be all right in that regards.
What about your America, Ron? How, before we wrap it up here, how's Cuba America doing?
Not that bad. I still think that there's something missing.
Now, before I let you continue, because you seem to always say that at the beginning of the season. So I do want to mention that Sergio has joined. Now Sergio is the one. Sergio is an Americanista, is he not?
Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah, I think he is. But we'll have to ask him how they're doing. But he says that Tommy's is not very good, Joel. So I guess Tommy's isn't as good as it used to be.
Well, it used to be. I was going back to the 90s, though.
And he also says that he too has only met one Atlas, maybe one Atlas fan in his life as well. Maybe that's the thing with Atlas fans. Maybe you're only allowed to know one. Maybe that's the deal that you make when you're born. Is just if you know more than one Atlas fan, then you're destined to have just some not necessarily the best life. So everyone has to keep it to one.
I do think Dallas fans are the self-loathing ones. I think they tell people they go for one team in public, and in private they put on the rojinegra.
Really? So you think that they're the ones that are whipping themselves with a cat of nine tails while they're watching the game?
Man. You have to be. Everything just goes wrong for them, no matter what.
Well, hopefully, we'll have to ask on the chat there if what Sergio's going to think. So I didn't even interrupt around it, so I just thought that Sergio was on. So they're not quite there yet. It's a work in progress. Do you like the pieces you see?
Not yet. Not really. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll advance. But I don't see them as a threat. It's like, which maybe it's not a bad thing, because I'd rather have them, get into full gear towards the end of the season.
Sure.
You can't complain. They're doing in the standings. I think it's just
they're tied for first place in points.
Yeah, they're tied. So I don't think that's the issue. But I think Piojo's taking them in the right direction. My thing is two things. I want to see more players from the youth, and I want to see less foreigners.
Right.
I do. I think and by no means. If America wins with this, I'll still be happy and stuff like that. But I just it's even the championship that Piojo won in 2013. It's like the vast majority of them were from Mexico, and stuff like that, and they they liked the club. They liked playing for the club.
The game they had with Pumas, I guess it was a couple weeks ago, ended up being a 0-0 draw. I was actually really I was surprised that they were at the amount of Mexicans that were playing. Yeah. But young Mexicans too. They have obviously Edson, who frankly surprised the hell out of me. He didn't play last night at all. I'm not really sure why that happened, but whatever. And then they have that wing back, the left winger. He's pretty good, like number 2. I forget what his name is.
Yeah, he's good. I'm surprised.
He's pretty talented.
I'm surprised that Piojo took Lainez back to the under 20s. I was listening to the telecast, and one of the reporters was saying, it's like he doesn't think it's a matter of Lainez, that it was getting to his head and stuff like that. He was talking about more so that he's still a very serious kid, but I don't know, maybe Piojo is seeing something that that none of us are, and wants to make sure that the kid develops at the right rate, at the proper time.
Right.
The talent he has, but hey, so do thousands of kids,
Yeah, it's like with any kid, is he going to peak at 18 or is he going to peak at 30? You just don't know. So what about Martin? How you think that was a good pickup? It seems like that if they're going to pick another forward, I guess they didn't get another forward, so it's going to be Martin and Uribe. The Frenchie they got, I don't necessarily think they didn't bring him in to score goals. Like they brought him in to kind of move things like be the Sambu is what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I saw good things in him. I saw good things in him. Again, it's too early. He needs tempo. Playing in the altitude. So there's going to be some level of adjustment.
What I like about Martin is that he he scores goals inside and outside the area, and that is not easy to do.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping that he's not a flavor of the month. I'm hoping that that he's consistent. That's really all I can hope for.
So for you right now, they're a playoff team, probably make the semis, but unless it's something really not dramatic, but if they really start stepping up their game, then hasta la semis y ya for Club America.
Yeah.
And then they also have Conca Champions. Don't forget too. So if they start doing better in one or the other, do they keep going in both?
That's actually, I think that's a good thing for them because, obviously he's going to have to play some, the young guys, and I think that's what America needs. I think, I need, they need that backbone,
right?
Where everything starts from the back and goes towards the front. And that's really what I'm not seeing, because I see that sometimes they get stuck going from one zone to the other, and it's not just a matter of sending a long ball or sending a counter. So I think they're doing fine in the counters. I think the buildup is they're having a little difficulty building up, because I see that sometimes their interiors, like their mids and their wings, sometimes get stuck and they're not communicating well, or they're telegraphing, when they're in transition, their passes. I'd like to see a little bit more. I'd like to see them play a little bit more open.
That's interesting that you say that about them, because it really goes to show, to me at least, just how Piojo has evolved as a coach.
Yeah.
And being just a strictly system guy. This is my system, and this and that, and now he's just trying to to make the best of what he has. And again, I'm not saying that he's trying to scrap stuff together, but he obviously has, in his mind, my team is more my players are more adapted to doing this, so we're gonna do this is more, more so than what he used to do. So, I've liked Piojo, and I do wish America well, just because I think it makes the league stronger when the better teams are better, and they have a really tasty. If they can get by, first they have to get by Saprissa in the first round, and then they have a possible matchup with FC Dallas in the quarterfinals, which would be, frankly, just a very, very interesting and appetizing a quarterfinal tie. Right? It's going to be as good as it gets as far as MLS versus Liga MX. So that'll be very interesting to watch if it does come to pass. We'll see how Club America reacts after that. Well, gentlemen, I guess we should wrap it up here. I wish that our latecomers stayed a little longer than they did, but once you get going on the America, it's they can hang for the Chivas talk, but America just especially Rigo. I'm sure that his he was probably getting so mad that like earwax was pouring out of his ears because he was so hot having to listen to America talk.
Hola, chingarse madre, Chivas.
Exactly. He's on the Chivas del Norte podcast, which so we have a Chivas del Norte podcast. We have what's the podcast? Is it the Eagle podcast? What is it, Joel?
There's an Eagle's Nest podcast.
The Eagle's Nest podcast.
Eagle Eye.
Oh man.
Which is in Americas. They need to have you on, Ron. You need to, if you really want
to English language.
Deep dive into Club America stuff, man. Ron, you need to offer your services.
Yeah, Águila Mayor.
You're Señor Águila for sure.
Que vergüenza.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's something that you'd want to be proud of.
Me estoy avergonzado.
But see, we shouldn't do that to Ron, because we do love Ron here, and we didn't get to play Ron's theme music earlier today, so we'll play it now. I don't know if I play that more for you, Ron, or to troll Joel.
Ron was trying to get into Daily Goat. He should be trying to get into the Eagle Eye, because
you know what?
Be more productive there.
I don't talk. I really don't talk much about with other Americanistas about the team. It's because it's tell me something I don't know. You know what I mean? It's what are you gonna tell me that I don't really know about my club? You know what I mean? So
Well,
it's
I mean,
like
but
I find more joy, when I hear cementeros just talk about their clubs and like in the shambles that they're in, or the problems that Chivas and Almeida and Vergara and Higuera are having. I find more pleasure in that.
eating the popcorn. No, but sometimes we do have this like responsibility to cultivate our own fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, when I say some of this stuff, I'm trying to ground my Chiva hermanos so that we're not all spazzing out all the time.
Just keep in mind, Joel, that Ogre was allowed to be a tri-lamp. So I want to be in that daily goat. I want to hear what you guys are saying. I want to hear those. Yeah, Panchito. Yeah,
No, it's.
I want to hear those. Or what was his name? Panchito Eduardo.
Ya, Gonzalo.
Yeah, Gonzalo.
That kid's right next to him, man. That's pretty bad. This guy's wailing and his kid's like doesn't know what to do, man.
So believe it or not, I take more pleasure and more joy, when I hear other people talking about their clubs and than me talking about my club.
What I'm hearing, Ron, is that you don't want to turn into Gonzalo if surrounded by a bunch of Americanistas.
No, it's like, tell me something I don't know, that I don't know. No, okay, I'll listen,
but don't you want to go on, Ron, and educate maybe a fledgling Club America fan that is maybe, he's made his choice, right? So he needs guidance, he needs help, he needs someone to show him the ways of the Águila. And I mean, do you really want to entrust that just to a guy like just anybody? I mean, don't you want to be a part of the evolution of a young Club America fan that is that has discovered his first plumas?
Yeah, and plus he has like the citadel, and he's like he doesn't want to share some of that.
That's right. Exactly.
Some of that stuff, man.
I have all the books, and I'm not going to share any of them.
Yeah, no one can read them but me, man.
Yeah. So what is it? Am I going to be allowed in the Daily Goat?
Oh no, dude.
See, we should put it up. We should put it up to vote to our to the folks. I actually put a poll up yesterday when I was doing the game. It was like what makes you cringe more when you watch a Molero friendly, the Si Se Puede chant that you hear, the puto chant which you're still hearing, or the forced Cielito Lindo at the 30th minute of each half. Which of those things make you?
I'm in a tie, John. Between the forced and the puto chant.
The forced Cielito Lindo and the puto chant.
Yeah, and they're like at a tie for me, man.
It's
They should play when they're getting. They should try to force the Cielito Lindo when the goalkeeper's about to kick the ball, and that way they'll just confuse a bunch of people.
That's interesting.
This week they didn't even sing the Cielito Lindo. They just played the music and everyone started cheering, and that was it.
No, well they sang after. They sang after the music was over.
I didn't hear it. I must have heard, paid attention.
Yeah, no, it's just rough. Actually, I think that poll, I believe I had it expire right at the beginning of the show, so I'll have to see what the results were on our big poll. Chiquis, Pumas, who do we have this week?
Tigres.
Oh,
be tough.
So we're begging for a point. That's what it's come to for Pumas fans. We're begging for a point.
Noon on Sunday at home, so Aquino and Dam maybe tired, but probably not.
Joel, you, like everybody else who participated in our poll, it was a tie between the puto chant and the forced Cielito Lindo as the most cringeworthy of a Molero friendly.
Yeah, and since I could only vote for one, I voted for the puto chant.
So there you have it. Well, this is yet another very entertaining show, gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming on, Ron. Thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure to have you on. You're knocking it out of the park with the business side of stuff, man. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you, John. Thank you, guys.
And Chiquis, a great job yesterday down in San Antonio. Got some good audio, some good video, some good pictures. The pictures, have you gone through all of them yet, Chiquis?
Yeah, pretty much. I modified quite a bit, and I think I posted some.
Yeah, I noticed that some for some reason were like really like red and yellow. So I was able to I just wanted to see if I could do it, and then somehow I took the yellow out, and they looked fantastic. So I mean, you got some really nice shots. You should be proud of yourself, dude.
Yeah, it was a nice camera. I just had to get used to it a little bit, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Sí, güey, no trajo comida, güey. Trajo chipotle.
I was gonna say.
Sí, güey, le dimos todo ese lupín, güey. Okay, güey. Yeah.
Listen, that's what good.
I think Joel's talking to his dealer right now.
That's right. Joel, did you get a pound? Did you make your In-N-Out order there, Joel?
No, my uncle wanted to go get food, but I already ate.
No.
Yeah. I heard the word chipotle. Are you going to Chipotles, Joel?
That's what I ate. I said I already ate.
Joel, the neighborhood you live in, you go and eat at Chipotles? Really?
Yeah, dude, it's pretty good, man.
It's a knockoff. It's it's spelled differently.
Chipotles with a Z.
Like, have you ever seen like those pictures of like American restaurants in Mexico, but it's spelled all messed up and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. That's funny. Well, Joel, thanks very much for joining us. Hopefully you're.
Oh yeah, man.
I'm glad that you didn't have a middle of the show incident because of your dinner. So that's.
Oh no, I'm good.
That's a good thing.
I'm gonna.
Yes.
For this weekend, I'm actually contemplating leaving Philly just for Sunday, man. Cause.
Oh, that's right. It's Super Bowl Sunday. So what is that like? Because they are. I mean, they're crazy. I mean, they are. I like to give Eagles fans a hell of a lot of. Well, I'm not a big fan of them just because of the way that they act.
Our good friend Martin a big Eagles fan?
No, he's a Jets fan.
He's a Jets fan. But no, I've living up here in the Northeast, dude. I've started to really find I don't know if it's a hatred, but just a real dislike for the teams in the Northeast. Along the Eastern Seaboard. Be it Baltimore, be it Philadelphia, be it Giants, be it, the Pats and stuff like that. So it's like, for me, it's like, I don't want to root for Brady, and I sure so don't. I'm not going to root for the team.
I mean, for someone like, I guess I'm sounding like you and I have the exact same sentiment. It's like the least attractive Super Bowl you could possibly have. It's like, I could care less.
I'm not going to watch it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I want the Pats to win just so that I could rub it on Eagles' faces, fans, for just 1 year longer. That, hey, the last time he won a Super Bowl was when Eisenhower was president. Or last time he won a championship.
For me, that's like that would be the better option is the Eagles losing it, because at least the Cowboys, everybody in their division has rings with the exception of
the Eagles. That's right.
The Giants have won, the Redskins have won, the Cowboys have won.
And multiple rings. I mean, the Cowboys have 5, the Giants have 4, the Redskins have 3.
Yeah.
And the Eagles have 0. Which hopefully it'll stay like that. I would be willing to put up a Tom Brady for another year just so that the Eagles. I don't know. So to any Eagles fans that are listening to the podcast,
Serge, fuck the Super Bowl. Is it because you don't like the NFL, or you still like both teams? For me, it's I just don't like the teams, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, the NFL. I mean, I make a living with the NFL in the fall, so it's. I mean, I've always liked the. I mean, I've been. I'm not gonna lie. I've been a Cowboy fan my entire life. So, the fact that that the hated Eagles are in the Super Bowl. For me, it's. Yeah, it's not good. And having lived in Philadelphia for a year and having to deal with Eagles, and when the Cowboys were terrible, to boot,
Yeah.
it was rough. So yeah, it's a little personal for me with Eagles fans. I'm not gonna lie. And if they win, good for them. There's obviously a lot of really, good-hearted Eagles. I'm sure all three good-hearted Eagles fans will be happy. But it's not on the track to Super Bowl. And one thing I've noticed, Ron, is that not even the commercials haven't even been that good for the past couple of years either. So it's almost like, why bother? So if you did leave the town of Philadelphia, where would you go? Would you go to the coast? Would you go to do a quick beach trip, or the Poconos? What would you do?
I don't even know, because I don't know what the traffic's going to be like. So it's like I'm thinking, maybe I should just binge watch a show or something.
Right. You could go to Atlantic City.
AC for me, some reason it's not the same anymore.
It's kind of gross, but at least for me it was.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but
you could go to you could guarantee not watching the Super Bowl if you go to Amish country.
Yeah, you can get home cooked meals over there, and
you could go build a bond with the Amish on Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll wrap it up here on the CantinaMX Podcast. And again, we really do appreciate y'all's patronage. The folks that are on the chat, thank you very much, Sergio, and the other gentleman who was on there, El Señor Constantino. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate you listening here live on YouTube. And obviously, you can listen to this in our previous editions of the podcast, downloaded from either Google Play or iTunes. And if you would, I know we've had a couple of reviews on Twitter. If y'all want to review our show, please do so. We do take your criticism constructively, and always working and hoping to make a better show for everybody. And we just want to make sure that you guys are educated and entertained. It is our goal here at the CantinaMX Podcast. My name is John Jagu. We appreciate y'all coming on and joining us tonight, and we will do it again next week. Talk to you guys later. Thank you very much.